Okay, we are live. Hey, this is Christine Volden with Soulful Selling, and I'm here with Celeste from Astrology by Celeste. So, Celeste, I would love it if you could do a quick introduction.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. I am an astrologer, coach, and intuitive, and the founder of the Moon Mastery Program, a tool for self discovery and manifesting with more ease. My background is I've had over 25 years of experience in sales and marketing and business development at Fortune 500 companies in the life science and medical device industry. And now I'm pursuing my calling as an astrologer. So thank
Yes,
you. I'm so happy
congratulations.
to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. And if you guys are watching live, if you could just type in the chat that you can hear us, that would be awesome. I saw the live stream was working, but I know we're on a couple different groups and we're on YouTube and we're on Facebook right now. So I'd love if you just typed into the chat. That would be super helpful for us. But yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to interview you is because number one, you have this amazing background in sales. And then number two, you are so knowledgeable about astrology. And one of the things we've talked about is how astrology helps you understand yourself better. So I love the phrase that you use, like understanding your cosmic blueprint, because I think that's so amazing that you really can learn so much about yourself through astrology. Oh, and Jessa says, I can hear you. Awesome. Thank you, Jessa. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like, how did you get into astrology, especially someone who has this amazing, extremely, successful career in sales? Like, tell me about like your interest in astrology first.
Yeah, it was on a whim. So I love to go to the spa Rancho La Puerta
Oh,
in
such a great place.
Mexico, Tecate, Mexico, fabulous. And one year they had an astrologer there who invited me to another week there where she was teaching about astrology. I went on a whim and it had me at hello. And when I learned about my chart, the day within, it was within days of a transit that spoke to me finding my calling, pursuing my life's passion. It's so fascinating, astrology. So you have your natal chart, which
Hmm.
is a snapshot of the planets at the moment of your birth.
Right.
And it's as above, so below. It speaks to our internal wiring
Hmm.
and it's just amazing. If you've never had an astrology reading, I recommend one for everyone. And understanding your makeup can help you uncover blind spots, see your hidden talents, and have more self-compassion for yourself and others when you understand there's ways that we are just made to be. Now we can live at the
Right.
high road and the low road of anything, but there are certain signatures that we each have that speak to our personalities.
Yeah, and so let's talk about your kind of makeup a little bit because I think it's so interesting and it does seem like you are especially well suited or perfectly suited for what exactly what you're doing. So do you want to share a little bit about you because I know you've shared some of that with me.
Yeah, so I am a sun in Taurus, giving me a grounded nature,
Mhm.
and that's very stable and a manifester. Taurus is the sign
Awesome.
that rules money and resources.
Mhm.
I'm a moon in Aries that gives me this initiating spirit, my leadership qualities,
Right.
and and ab- ability to take risks.
Mhm.
And I'm a Cancer rising, which is a water sign that helps me connect with other people,
Right.
and be a consultant, a mentor, a coach, in a nurturing way. So those are my big three. Yes. So
Yeah, that's so amazing. And how have you used that kind of in your sales career? Because I think there's a lot of
mhm,
people that I work with who, either feel uncomfortable about selling or they have a belief about selling. And I think that a lot of times comes from like what society tells us or what our beliefs
mhm.
are about money and about selling. But how do you see that relating to how someone is like manifests or feels comfortable, because I think selling is a couple things. It's being able to clearly communicate, right? Being
Mhm.
able to have belief in yourself. What other things do you recognize?
So what you're talking about is the elements, and there
Ah.
are 4 elements. So we have 12 signs of the zodiac,
Mhm.
and there are 4 elements and 3 modes. So let's keep it simple. The elements are fire, earth, air, and water. So
Mhm.
fire is what you mentioned, is that belief in yourself, that being able to follow
Mm.
your gut
Mhm.
um, instinct. Earth is the ability to manifest, to bring the
Ah.
bring things down into the physical world,
Mhm.
as well as be stable and consistent. Air is what you mentioned about the ability to be able to communicate clearly and
Right.
articulate your ideas. And water is helps us create connections with other people.
Mhm.
So some people are missing an element, and that can mean they have like none of it, or they have
Right.
um, so much of it they don't need anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and then you have an elemental balance. So once you understand your makeup, it can help you understand where you have a lack. And then you can either bring other people in to help you through coaching,
Mhm.
or there are things you can do to nurture yourself. Like, just for instance, air. If you're really uncomfortable about speaking in front of groups and things like that,
Mhm.
you can try going to things like Toastmasters or
Right.
Clubhouse. I love Clubhouse, this new app where people don't see you, they
Right.
just hear you. So
Mhm.
it can give you an opportunity to hone your story and tighten up how you're speaking to others. So
Right.
that's a way to work. If you
Yeah.
have not much earth, you can use tools to help you plan. Like, I love Asana, which is a project management tool
Yes.
that you can, it'll prompt you on what you need to do next. So there's things you can do
Mhm.
and bring to yourself, to help develop where you're missing, and understanding, your sun sign, your will, your essence, as well as your moon, how you need to be nurtured, your behavioral instincts, your subconscious self.
Right.
What I do with my moon mastery program is helping people make the conscious, your sun sign, making the subconscious, excuse me, conscious through working with
Right, right, so
your sub.
uncovering those really hidden gifts that I think
Mhm.
so many people have, and, that's funny that you say that, because I have a group of intuitive entrepreneurs that I work with, who are all developing, like, different online courses or programs, and what I notice is when they're especially gifted at a certain area, they assume that it's easy for everyone, right? And, I'm like, "No, that is the one thing that you actually are really, really great at." Like, forever, I always thought, like, "Well, anyone can sell. You just need to ask for what you want," and it's, like, pretty simple, and it took me a lot of time to realize, "Oh, that's just something I'm really comfortable with for whatever reason," and maybe it's my partially my chart and my experience and my background, but it took me a while to see, like, "Oh, some of these things I think are very easy are just really like gifts that I have." And I think that sometimes it's so nice. So often we focus on so much that's negative, or we're, all these self help books that tell us to improve all the time. And that's why I love astrology and your take on it, because it's like, let's look at what your gifts are and what you're already great at. I think that's such a more beneficial approach than trying to fix everything that you think is wrong with yourself.
I agree. And you just spoke to fire. Now,
Mm,
especially for women,
mhm.
oftentimes our fire is in ways put out as children, because we're supposed to be nice and be sociable
Ah,
and,
right.
not make waves. So some
Hmm.
people do have a really hard time asserting themselves. And there are ways you can build your comfort with fire. Selling's not easy. I remember when I
Hmm.
first started, I was given just like this like printout of 1,000 pages of all my
Uh-huh.
different customers, and it was like, okay, go bring in it was
Right,
like
yeah, I mean, I
three
do
million
remember my first
dollars at that
actual
time.
sales job. Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. I was, like,
It
practicing a
was
script in the bathroom mirror and, like, sweating and just, like, feeling so uncomfortable, and it took me definitely a couple months to get over that stage.
Yeah, I remember crying in my car at the beginning because it was just like when you start getting that rejection,
Right.
especially if you have strong air,
Yeah.
or like Libra signatures. Libra is the sign of partnering and
Mhm.
can want to be liked or people please. And I have
Yeah.
Jupiter, the planet of expansion, there, so
Mhm.
it was tough having people like have not want a thing to do with me at first
Right.
at
Yeah.
times. So
And just that perseverance is so important, right? Being okay that people, are not answering the phone or not responding to your emails, and being okay to really persist, right? Because
mhm.
that's another thing that I think, once you do get over this fear of even speaking in the first place, it's not just that you have to consistently keep doing it over time, which I think is a whole different struggle.
And one thing that working with the moon is a way to help with that. So the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. So
Mhm.
giving us an opportunity to experience the 12 archetypal energies of the signs of the zodiac.
Mhm.
So you may find when you start watching the moon and following the moon that there's certain days where you're better at speaking. Maybe when the moon is in fire signs of Leo, Sagittarius, or Aries.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you may decide to like do more presentations then, or maybe it's air signs where you're just having your
Right.
words so much better. When the
Mhm.
moon is in Earth, I like to Virgo, I get so much done. So I
Mhm.
like that for scheduling office days where you're just focusing on tasks and
Right.
things like that. And when the moon is in Pisces, I mean, there's just no point in me trying to push myself. So I know that.
Mhm.
So I give myself a break. So that's another way that you can help improve your performance and be more comfortable with the things you've set for the day if you have some control over your schedule, which most people do in sales, have control when you want
Right.
to schedule your meetings versus your office days versus, well, where all days are office days these days, but you know what I
Right.
mean.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great and interesting way to look at it, because I know and I will admit I love astrology, but I can never understand like the really finite details. So I love talking to people like you. But I do know, sometimes during like Mercury retrograde, where a lot of people will say, "Oh, there's lots of technical problems." I remember someone once told me, like, do not even try to like finish your email, whatever, whatever it was, like all these technical things. Don't try to change your email system. Like, now is not the time to do
Oh
that.
yeah.
And that was very freeing for me, because I thought, okay, great. I do not even have to work on that right now, because I think the person was like, it's not going to work anyway. So just don't do it. And so that's kind of what you're saying. Like, use that time productively, so you can know, hey, this is a great time to do the external
Mhm.
work, the presentations and the speaking and the like demos or however you sell. And maybe this is the time for planning, right?
Mhm.
So how do you do that? Do you have like a moon chart somewhere where you're just kind of looking at that all the time?
Yes, so I follow the moon. There's a great app called Deluxe App. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
Deluxe Moon, not Deluxe App,
Uh-huh.
the Deluxe Moon app, and it tells you where the moon is every day. You
Oh,
can also go to my website, my homepage.
mm-hmm.
Towards the bottom, it says where the moon, what sign the moon is in, and as well as I have a guide. It's on my link in on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
which is called Syncing with the Cycles of the Moon. That gives you an outline of how to follow the moon, suggestions on things to do for work, play, or love when the moon is in each sign. It may take a little time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so helpful to connect in to improve your productivity, reducing your stress.
Yeah.
Working with the moon really reduced my stress significantly.
Oh, really?
So yeah, there are a bunch of apps that can help you,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and come take my course if you want the more of the structure to help you put this in place
Right, right.
to move
Yeah. I
forward.
find that so interesting. So you can go to, and your website is Astrology by Celeste, right?
Yes.com. Yes,
.com.
yes.
Okay, awesome. So people can find all of that information, which I think is fascinating. So what like advice do you give to people who are very new to astrology,
Mhm.
who just want to get some insight, like, hey, how do I use either, like, I love this, like the cycles of the moon, or how do I understand my chart better so I can see what's missing?
Yeah, so I do recommend getting an astrology reading.
Hmm.
And I get astrology readings from other
Mhm.
astrologers like once a year,
Right.
in order to be refreshed. So just get one for a grounding of
Mhm.
what your signature is, and then the simplest way to start working with astrology is work with the moon cycles, and so knowing that at a new moon, it's a time to plant seeds. And this happens once a month where the
Mhm.
sun and the moon come together in the same sign at the same degree. We just had an Aries new moon, and you can
Right.
watch on my YouTube page, Astrology by Celeste on YouTube. I did a webinar about this new moon, and you have a whole
Mhm.
2 weeks to, as the light of the moon grows, it's dark at a new moon, and it's a time when things are seated in our subconscious. We should just
Mhm.
listen in and hear our internal voice telling us what to bring. And then
Yeah.
as the moon's light grows, we start taking action to move things forward. And at
Mhm.
the full moon, it's a culmination when the sun and the moon are at opposite each other on each side of Earth. Um, and then we celebrate or forgive ourselves for what didn't happen. And then as the moon's light dissipates, we start tying things up, sharing what we've done.
Mm.
And then at the end of the cycle, we relax and start anew. So we live in a very solar focused world where there's just this
Right.
push, push, push.
Mhm.
Getting involved and syncing with the natural cycles, it helps us know when to push and know when to reflect or take a step
Mm.
back, because the sun emanates light and the moon reflects the light back.
Oh, I
She
love that.
has no
So,
light of her own.
would you say the moon is more feminine then?
The moon is feminine. Yes,
Okay.
the moon is feminine, receptivity. Yes, she has no light of her own. But she's a yin, very yin in terms of being receptive, which being receptive is an action.
Mhm.
It's not a non-action.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because I often describe kind of my method, which I call the quiet selling method, as a more feminine way to sell instead of the push, 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 right? Is masculine, which doesn't
Mhm,
necessarily mean men or women, right? It's
mhm,
just the behavior, but it's exactly what you're describing, right? Like, a masculine sales approach is really like, putting a lot of pressure on someone and like really being aggressive. And a more feminine approach, I always say, is like, hey, you put the right message out there, and then you receive the information, or you receive, not that you don't have to follow up with people and stuff like that, but there is definitely, I think, a more feminine way to sell. And so it sounds like that is a perfect way to work with the moon.
Yes, yes, and I have an intention setting guide on my website. You can go to the homepage and just download it. It's complimentary. Yeah, and it talks about working with these cycles and has worksheets for April, May, and June to help you work on putting this in place. So that's the most simple way
Hmm.
to work with astrology. You don't even need to have to know anything else about it. The things
Right.
I put out on my Facebook page and on my Instagram, where I'm most active, tells you every month, when the times are and what this means. And there's also longer cycles that explains in the guide that you can do, bring programs or launch products or writing a book, bring things to life with
Oh
these
yeah, writing a book,
longer
yeah, creating a
nine
course,
nine
yeah.
9 month cycles with the moon.
Hmm.
So it's just magical. And then you can take the steps to work with the energy, with the moon as it transits the different signs every 2.5 days in the month, and see within yourself how you react, how your mood, the moon and mood changes,
Hmm.
um, during that time. So working with the moon really helps you learn to work with your inner voice, hear that inner wisdom. That is the best thing it does, and get in touch with that feminine essence that's so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, now you kind of have me curious about my own chart and and selling. And I know you have my information, so I would love to get like some input on this. And I think,
Yeah.
this would be really cool because people will get a sneak peek of what you're going to do in your
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, the big three is so important for
Hmm.
people. So, Christine, your sun is in Pisces,
Right.
which is a water sign,
Hmm.
which helps you connect with others. It gives you a soft a softer approach that speaks to why you like this feminine approach.
Oh, right.
Your moon is in Gemini, which is an air sign that really likes to connect with others, likes to share information. This is perfect for a salesperson having a moon in Gemini that nurtures you. And you are a Libra rising, which is also an air sign. So you have 2 air signs and a water sign. So Libra rising, you like to partner and you like to interview people and you like to connect. And your whole chart is ruled by Venus, which is our other feminine planet. We call all of the sun and the moon, we call them planets in astrology as well. So the moon and Venus are the feminine ones. And Venus just went into Taurus today, the sign where she is most at home. So this is a great time to think about your values, how you want to magnetize to yourself to build money. Venus rules money, resources, as well for you. Yeah, I love this. And then Jupiter is a planet that speaks to abundance. And so as well, with astrology, we know when whichever sign Jupiter's in, it's in Aquarius right now, that speaks to the collective. But we also, when we know our chart, there are 12 houses that speak to the areas of our life. So Jupiter for you right now is in the house of creativity. So this is a really good time for you and to be thinking about what you want to birth. What do you want to create within your business? Thinking about letting yourself have the space to conceptualize how you want to grow and build abundance. And Saturn, the planet of crystallization and structure, is in your 4th house of your foundation, home and family. And so for a business, I'd say this is a really good time to think about what foundation this year that you want to lay down in order to build your structures going forward, to grow your business through creatively bringing new things to it.
Oh, I love that. And now, so you said I have a lot of air and water. Now, what were the other 2 that were missing? So there's fire.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to think about the things that I have to work on more. So it's fire and
earth.
All right. Yes. So tell me again what fire is in terms of selling. That's
so fire, that is the life-giving force that gives you the presence when people have a lot of fire. Your Venus actually is in Aries. That gives you the fire to take action for yourself to bring resources to you.
Right. Yeah, because I find that is always a challenge, I think, for all entrepreneurs, but I definitely recognize that as sometimes it's hard when you don't have, even though I can't imagine working for someone else again, staying self-motivated for an entrepreneur, I think is really, really challenging. And definitely, I personally find that challenging to find that motivation in myself, right? Because I always find I'm more motivated by helping other people. And that's why I love the partnerships and I love mentoring people, because that to me motivates me almost more than just helping myself. That's interesting.
That's your Libra rising. Well, right now we have a concentration of energy in the sign of Aries, which is a fire sign, which is kind of opposite from you. So now is a really good time for you to set intentions about how you're going to take action for yourself to move your business, or whatever goals you have in your life forward. But you have a couple of planets in fire. So that's helpful for you.
Yeah. And that's good to know that, it doesn't just depend on, your sun and your moon and your rising, that there's other things that come into play.
And so the natal chart is a snapshot of when we were born. The planets are always moving. So we have opportunities to bring things into ourselves by intentionally working with the energies throughout the year. So as well as, bringing others into our lives. But you're other focused because you have a Libra rising, which speaks to how I partner, and your midheaven, the highest point where you meet the world, which speaks to your career line, is in Cancer. So Cancer is the sign of the mother, the sign of nurturing. It's a cardinal sign, which means it's initiating. So is Libra. So you like to help other people and nurture them in order to help them grow their own businesses, speaking as to why you are a coach and a teacher
Right.
and what you do. So, yes.
Oh, that's so fascinating. Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's so it's so validating sometimes to hear these things, right? That you kind of know about yourself or you suspect, and then having someone reflect those back to you and say, "Oh no, this is actually there's a reason by like why that is the way it is." I find is really helpful, and it just I think it does help you recognize, oh yeah, that's why I do that, or that's why I really like to do that.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. That's so fascinating.
Oh, you're welcome. It's like peeling an onion. When you learn about
Hmm.
yourself, you can reflect back on all these like personality traits that you didn't quite understand,
Yeah.
and it really gets you connected in with yourself so
Hmm.
much better in other ways. And like you said, nurturing and your talents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would love for you to take just the last couple of minutes to kind of give people an overview of your program, because it just opened, right? Moon
Yes.
Mastery. Yes, it
The
sounds, and it's so amazing. So I'd love for you to share that with people.
Yeah, so the cart opened already. It's called Moon Mastery 101. It's a 6-week program where you're going to learn the basics of astrology. So it's going to be more of the simple things about
Mhm.
astrology, really getting into your sun sign, your essence, your moon sign, how you need to be nurtured, your rising sign, what your soul is rising up to, as well as how you appear to others,
Mhm.
and understanding that to understand yourself better, as
Right.
well as understanding the sun and the moon phases, how they work together in
Mhm.
order to put a framework in place so that you can help grow yourself in whatever ways you want. If you want to grow your business, if you want to grow, do better for your health, or things like that. By the end of the class, you'll have a 6-week a 6-month plan going
Oh,
forward
great.
based on working with the moon cycles and your chart, so that you're putting effort in where there's energy for you. So working with more naturally with the cycles rather than fighting against the tide, when if you're in a
Right.
time where it's supposed to be relaxing or releasing, it's not a good time to push. So you can push
Mhm.
in the right areas is really what it's intended for. And
Yeah. So
so it's
make great use of your time.
It's going to be interactive. It's going to be taught live. So you'll meet other people who are spiritual and
Mhm.
interested in more self discovery and personal development. There's a
Mhm.
private community to network in, and yeah, and then I will be bringing people up and pulling up their charts so you can see astrology in action. So we also will talk about things that have happened in our life in the past and what that means, and so
Mhm.
really get more clarity to your life and yourself and others around you through this 6-week program. It's going to be really fantastic.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. And I think, I always say if that's something you're really drawn to, if astrology has been something that's always been fascinating, or you're always checking it out, or you're interested in it, it probably is something that can really have a deep impact for you. That's what I find, because I work with so many different types of spiritual and wellness entrepreneurs, and I'm like, that thing that you're drawn to is probably something you have a special gift in. So I would encourage people, if you're really interested in astrology, to check out Astrology by Celeste, because I think I just love your approach. And I did just want to say, like, I specifically am always drawn to entrepreneurs and spiritual people who are very grounded. And even your signs indicate that you are very grounded and practical, because I think it's important that we provide really practical, useful advice, in that groundedness is what makes people feel safe, right?
Mhm.
So I do appreciate that really comes into play with your work. So I think that's just another great reason why you're so well suited to do this as a teacher.
Yes, I have 4 planets in Earth, so I'm
Okay.
extremely grounded. I
Hmm.
bring the stars down to Earth and bring practical solutions, as well as help people initiate actions in their own life. And if people are interested but not sure,
Hmm.
I'm having free webinars. So tomorrow's webinar is sold out. but it's on the North Node, which you can watch it on YouTube. It'll be
Mhm.
5 p.m. Pacific time. But I've opened up spots because Sunday's webinar is going to be about the eclipses, which are like
Oh.
big new and full moons, like
Mhm.
new and moon and full moon times 10. And we're
Mhm.
heading right into eclipse season. The first one's May 26th and the second one's June 10th. So there's still space to sign up for that on Sunday. It's free. And then the following week on Sunday, I will be having a full moon webinar, and then the cart will close on the 26th. So you still have a week to decide if you want to join, and you get
Mhm.
to see me for free, see if it fits for you
Mhm.
and you like my style. And you'll learn something even if you decide not to sign up for the class. I also do one-on-one coaching as well as just readings or events. So
Yeah, and I think that's so great. And just to point out, like one of the big benefits of people registering is that you do review people's charts on those webinars, which I think, like, wow, how valuable is that to have someone like you give them feedback on what they're working on? So I would say if you have a chance and you're interested, definitely sign up for Celeste's webinars because you could get some really great personalized feedback.
yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Celeste. This was so fantastic. I really appreciate your time. And then one more time, where's the best place for people to find you?
Astrologybyceleste.com is my website. On Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Astrology by Celeste. I'm most active on Instagram. I have lives every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time where I talk about the current events, so the astrology of current event, and then talk about whatever's happening for the week, the current what we call transits. And
Mhm.
then I pull 3 oracle cards to help guide us with the energies of the week. And then on my YouTube page, I do more, longer form discussions of specific topics, like, for instance, the new moon, which we're in right
Mhm.
now, the new moon phase. So this is a great time to take action for yourself, to move your goals forward between now and the full moon on the 26th. So do not let this time go to waste. That tells you all about it in the webinar.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you for joining. And if you're watching the replay, we'd love to hear your comments afterwards. Awesome. Thanks, Celeste.
Thank you so much, Christine. This has been such a pleasure. Thank
Yeah,
you.
likewise.